everyone, I am the storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now, get comfortable and relax. It was a dreary November evening when Emily returned to her small apartment in the heart of the city. The sky outside was a dull gray, and rain drummed softly against the windows, adding to the chill in the air. Her day had been uneventful, the same monotonous routine of working at the bookstore and returning home to her solitary life. But something was different today. Janelle kept shooting the glance at her mailbox. A single envelope caught her eye. It was plain, unmarked, with no return address. Her name, Emily Harper, was scrawled on the front in a shaky, almost childlike handwriting. Puzzled, she turned the envelope over in her hands. It was old and slightly yellowed, as if it had been sitting somewhere for years. With a sense of curiosity mixed with unease, she slipped it into her bag and headed upstairs. Once inside her apartment, she shrugged off her damp coat, made herself a cup of tea, and sat at her small kitchen table, staring at the envelope. Something about it felt off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Finally, she opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper, equally aged and brittle. The letter was written in the same shaky handwriting, and it read, "Emily, do not ignore this letter. They are watching you. You must leave immediately. Do not stay in your apartment tonight." A friend. Emily's heart skipped a beat as she reread the letter, her mind racing. It had to be a prank. Perhaps one of her co-workers at the bookstore was trying to scare her. But who would go to such lengths? And why? She set the letter down and looked around her apartment. Everything seemed normal. The familiar clutter of books and knickknacks, the faint hum of her refrigerator. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Trying to dismiss her unease, Emily decided to distract herself. She turned on the television and curled up on the couch, but the letter nagged at the edge of her thoughts. The words, "They are watching you," echoed in her mind, making her glance nervously at the windows. The rain had stopped, and the street outside was eerily quiet. She closed the curtains and tried to focus on the show, but her anxiety only grew. Hours passed, and the city outside seemed to fall into a deep silence. It was almost midnight when Emily heard it, a faint tapping sound. She froze, her eyes darting toward the door. The sound came again, more insistent this time. Someone was knocking, but it was too soft to be normal. Her chest tightened as she crept toward the peephole. Peering through, she saw nothing. The hallway outside was empty, dimly lit by the flickering fluorescent light. Emily's hand hovered over the doorknob, but she hesitated. The tapping came again, louder this time, as if it were coming from inside the apartment. Her blood ran cold. She spun around, her eyes scanning the room. The sound seemed to be coming from the window. Gathering her courage, she approached it slowly. When she pulled back the curtain, she gasped. There was a figure standing across the street, partially obscured by shadows. They were motionless, staring directly at her window. Emily stumbled backward, her heart pounding. She grabbed her phone and dialed her best friend, Sarah. "Emily, it's late. Is everything okay?" Sarah's groggy voice answered. Someone's outside," Emily stammered. "I got this weird letter, and now there's someone standing across the street just staring." Sarah's tone instantly sharpened. "Lock your doors, I'm coming over." Emily nodded. Even though Sarah couldn't see her, she double-checked the locks on her door and windows, then sat on the couch, clutching her phone like a lifeline. The figure outside hadn't moved. Minutes felt like hours as she waited for Sarah. When a knock finally came at the door, Emily jumped. She rushed to the peephole and sighed in relief when she saw Sarah's familiar face. She opened the door, pulling her friend inside. "Thank God you're here," Emily said, her voice trembling. Sarah looked concerned. "Show me the letter." Emily handed it to her, and Sarah's frown deepened as she read it. "This is seriously creepy. Are you sure it's not some kind of prank?" "I don't know," Emily admitted. "But look." She led Sarah to the window and pointed to the figure across the street. But the figure was gone. It was right there, Emily insisted. I swear, someone was watching me. Sarah placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Maybe it's just your nerves. Let's stay here tonight and keep the lights on. We'll figure this out in the morning. Grateful for the company, Emily agreed. The two friends settled in for the night, but sleep eluded them. Every creak of the building and rustle of the wind made Emily's heart race. She couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. Around 3 a.m., a loud thud jolted them both awake. It came from the bedroom. Emily and Sarah exchanged terrified glances before creeping toward the closed door. Emily's hands shook as she turned the knob and pushed the door open. The room was empty, but the window was wide open, rainwater pooling on the floor beneath it. The locks on the window were shattered, as if forced open from the outside. On the bed lay another envelope, identical to the first. With trembling hands, Emily picked it up and opened it. The message inside was short and chilling. You didn't leave. Now it's too late. A sudden crash from the living room made them both scream. They ran back to find the front door wide open, the chain lock dangling uselessly. The hallway outside was empty, but the air was thick with an oppressive silence. We need to leave, Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. Emily nodded, grabbing her coat and keys. The two women hurried out of the apartment and down the stairs, every shadow seeming to twist and reach for them. When they burst onto the street, the cold night air hit them like a slap. They ran to Sarah's car, parked a block away. As they drove away, Emily glanced back at her apartment building. For a moment she thought she saw a figure standing in her window, but when she blinked, it was gone. They spent the night at Sarah's place, but neither of them could sleep. Emily's mind raced with questions. Who had sent the letters? What did they want? And most terrifying of all, what had been watching her? The next morning, they returned to Emily's apartment to gather her things. The place felt different, as if something had shifted in her absence. On the kitchen table was a final letter waiting for her. The handwriting was no longer shaky but bold and deliberate. You can run, but you can't hide. I'll always find you. Emily and Sarah left without a word. Emily never returned to that apartment. She moved to a different city, changed her number, and tried to rebuild her life. But no matter where she went, she always felt the weight of unseen eyes watching her. And every so often, an unmarked letter would find its way to her door. A chilling reminder that the nightmare was far from over.